Another video game movie. Hello and welcome to Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast. I'm your host, Brett Beck, and alongside me, Mr.
Saul Bridges, bringing you Lucky, episode 80. We had something planned, and it was similar to that, but for some reason, it was better.
Far better.
Whenever I said it out loud, it became more comical. It was like Tim Allen and Home Improvement.
That is what that sounds like.
I can't do him as deep as that deep as voice.
Yeah, because that did not sound that.
No,
you sounded closer like it to the intro.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you don't know who we are Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast. You can find us every Monday in video format on YouTube. If you like what we're doing over there, subscribe, hit the bell button, let you know what we're doing every Monday at least, and we have more, like we most recently did our Reader Mail episode. If you want to listen to us in audio format only, you can find us on podcast services, and apparently soon to be Spotify, as they've opened the floodgates to their podcast stuff, so that's cool.
Super cool of them.
You can listen on Android, iPod, Apple products in general, whatever you have.
Just
iPod, yeah. People still have iPods. That's a thing. Anyway, you can find us over there. Just know you can use Podcast Addict and all those weird Android ones. If you listen to us on iTunes, though, consider giving us a review. Lets us know how we're doing, gets our numbers up there. And of course, we like to read them and see what you do and don't like about the show so that we can adjust as we feel is necessary. But ultimately, it is our show, and we like to keep it how we like. But we like to hear different ideas and different thoughts. If you want to find us on Twitter, you can do so at Triangle SQRD. We do cool custom cases and giveaways, though we've slowed down a little bit. Got to get back on that. You can find us on Patreon, support us on there, support the content that we're bringing, and also get a custom case every quarter. So actually sending those out to current patrons. Thank you guys so much. We have a Patreon post where if you are listening to this and you haven't seen the post for some reason and you know that you're a patron of the $5 up tier, then you can go over there, see the list, and choose one, and we'll get it sent over to you. But with that being said, keep forgetting, Facebook. You can find us on the Facebook group. It's it's Triangle Squared, a Places podcast Facebook group. But with that said, Saul, what have you been playing?
A lot of Destiny 2, but that's kind of unsurprising.
Par for the course, yes.
Yeah, so not much in that department. Thank you to our good friend Richard. I got my Vita in for winning the Versus tournament. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. But I downloaded pretty much a lot of stuff that I have already downloaded before. I have like Final Fantasy X, Rogue Legacy, the Metal Gear Solid collection.
I saw you mention
Freedom Wars.
Because I thought about going back and playing the Metal Gear Solid collection on the Vita as well. Even though I have some, I don't like that it doesn't include Peace Walker. I think that's just dumb. But more importantly, I thought about doing it just because I enjoy those games. But I saw that you said you didn't like the way that 3 felt.
No, I didn't like. No. It's not 3. It's both of them. It's
so just in general. Yeah, so you didn't like the way that. What is it? Because of the way the analogs?
The back touchpad you have to use for a couple things.
Oh.
You have to swipe the screen in order to peek out of corners. Like when you're up against a wall and you have a hallway next to you, you have to swipe on the corner on the screen to peek around the corner.
That's weird.
So it's very disjointed. But I'm playing through it today. I started today. So I may get used to it. If I don't, well, I'll uninstall it again.
Whatever. You've played the games before.
Yeah.
You're not missing out.
I've experienced them. But other than that, I did get to play, and Brett played this as well. Forza Horizon 4. Fantastic racing game for all those that are interested in that. But I think that with this being primarily a PlayStation podcast, or, a PlayStation podcast, that...
Who knows? We're playing it on PC.
Yeah.
And Games Pass, so $10. Can't wait for my other stick of RAM to get in. It's going to run even better. The game's beautiful. I'll give you that much. It runs really well. It's fast. There is something that's good. We talked about with consoles and moving forward how we'd like to see 60 frames per second become a standard. And you were across the board wanting 60 frames per second. And I said that there's certain cases. Racing is one of those cases.
Oh yeah.
There is a genuinely better feel at 60 frames per second than at 30.
For sure.
And it's because of the type of game it is. That's why I always say high action games, like Call of Duty is a perfect example. And they always are 60 frames per second, are very close because they know that they've got to feel that way. Call of Duty has traditionally sacrificed resolution to make sure that they hit that 60 frames per second because it matters more about the way the game feels than quite necessarily how it looks.
Yeah, and another game has done that recently too, where they kicked the resolution down in order to get 60. But I'm pretty sure it was Was it Titanfall 2? Maybe, I don't remember. It was
maybe similar. I don't know. Definitely now that they use scalable resolutions, where it'll kind of go, it'll scale back when necessary to make sure they hit the 60.
Yeah.
So it could be anything. So anything else? That's about it.
Nope, that's it. What about you?
I have been playing Vita as well. I've been playing Time Spinner. I think I mentioned it last episode. Time Spinner is good so far. I'm a little further in it. It's doing a lot with the time travel mechanics and the way that they go about making you go into the future, or really your present time, also going into the past, and the way it kind of plays off of that is interesting. I'm still curious to see how it goes out further, but we will see as the game continues to go. I'm rotating that out on Vita with One More Dungeon, which was on sale this past weekend. Who knows? I don't know if it's still on sale or if it's off, but it was $6, and I had mild interest in it. It's basically the funnest parts of Minecraft to me, which is going underground and then just fighting stuff. It's got a very similar art style. It's actually kind of a cool, it's like a first person, but everything's two-dimensional but flat, so when you move around it kind of spins with you. It's a very interesting looking game, and it's a excuse me, it's a roguelike game, so you get a score for going through every time, and that score continues to add up, and then at the beginning of everything you can use it to unlock new things that you can use as modifiers when you go in.
That's pretty cool.
So I like that.
Sounds
setup.
like it has a lot of replayability because of that.
Yeah, and then the levels change. So like it's always the same. It's like what's the Enter the Gungeon, where it's always the same as you're going through. Now it'll be randomly generated, but it's the same general area.
Oh, okay, yeah. I see what you're saying.
So you'll go through, and it's like that layer always looks the same, but it's randomly generated to be a little different. Then you go to the second layer, and the second level looks a little different, and the third layer, and so such on. It's pretty interesting. Not quite that cool. It doesn't have that good of bosses like Enter the Gungeon does. I wish that was on Vita still. It kills me. It's a perfect Vita game.
It's a good game.
I still may get that game in general. It's just a fun game.
If you ever just save it until you get a Switch and just have it on Switch, play it handheld. It's fine on Switch. I have it on Switch as well.
Yeah, but I'd want to aim for the trophies, even though I know that's probably an impossible game to platinum.
Yeah, you're not getting the platinum for that.
I can lie to myself for a little bit. Well, anyway, I played that, and then of course I have played. I think since last episode, I played more Farpoint. Not Farpoint, guys, on my mind for something totally different. Firewall Zero Hour. We're going to play later tonight. I don't know what you have plans on leaving or not, but
Destiny 2.
Ryan and them were wanting to play. That's right. I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, I think Richard's even hopping on with us.
Okay.
I think.
Well, play your Destiny 2, you losers. Let's see. I know there's something else I've played. What was it? Oh, Crash Bandicoot with Kyrie. That's been good and fun. Been beating levels, helping her, but she's doing mostly pretty well. And I don't think I've played anything else, so I'm going to leave it at that.
Sure.
That feels right. I still want to start Hollow Knight, but I'm just trying to wait until I can get through with Time Spinner.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well,
you need to start it.
Do you want to go ahead and hop into the drop?
I sure do. So for those that don't know, the drop is this week's PlayStation releases across all systems. First up on the list, we have Call of Duty Black Ops 4 for PS4. We have Disgaea 1 Complete for PS4. Evasion for PSVR.
Whoa, hold up. What? I thought Disgaea 1 Complete was coming to Vita as well. Is it not?
Maybe not this week.
I'm going to look that up. You go ahead.
Okay. We have The Exorcist Legion VR Episodes 4 and 5 for PlayStation VR. Home Sweet Home for PSVR. Mark of the Ninja Remastered for PS4. My Memory of Us for PS4. Space Hulk Tactics for PS4. Super Blackjack Battle 2 Turbo, The Card Warriors for PS4. And the last one on the list, we have WWE 2K19 for PS4. I feel like that was last week, too. So I don't know what's going on there. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
What was that?
WWE 2K19.
It was. Maybe it was one of those weird things where you get it early if you pay for it.
That could be. Yeah.
I don't feel like that justifies it being on the drop twice. But
No,
I mean, maybe.
either.
Who knows?
That's odd.
It looks like it was only PS4. I don't know where in my mind I got that it was on there.
It's Switch.
That might be it.
Yeah, it's on Switch and PS4.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I think it's just also easy because in your all the Disgaea games have pretty much come to Vita. 3, 4, I think 5 even came to Vita, didn't it?
No, 5 came to Switch.
Maybe that's just in my head. It goes to handheld. In my mind is.
I would be amazed if that was on Vita.
It's impossible. Okay. Well,
according
there you
to
go.
NIS, yeah.
We got our answer clearly and concisely. Okay, well, that's cool. I mean, I'm actually kind of excited for Disgaea 1, but I really prefer those games on handhelds.
I do too. That's where I started them. That's where I got to play them. I can't play
since
those
I don't
on
normally aim for platinums on those kind of games anyway, if I ever got a Switch, that might be where I played that one. Disgaea 1's a great game, though. I could just go back and play it on PSP.
Well, yeah.
if I'm not worried about trophies anyway.
Then you could play Disgaea 5 as well on Switch. So it kind of all fits in.
I don't know.
Didn't you like Disgaea 5? Or was that... I know Blaze
I haven't played Disgaea 5 at all.
Oh, Disgaea 5 is good.
Yeah, no, I like 3 and 4 a lot. But I don't know.
So
I think I like 4 even more.
Blaze is the person I talked to. I think that liked it a lot, but I might be wrong there. Might be
Yeah, Blaze
Sean.
picked it up.
Okay.
Yeah, Blaze did.
Sure.
So anyway, going to hop over into the news now. It looks
Yes,
like...
sir.
While we just got October's PS Plus games, it looks like a leak from PlayStation's site accidentally revealed next month's big titles. So Yakuza Kiwami and Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition look to be headlining the month, with the PS3 and Vita titles still under wraps for now.
Cool.
This is good.
Yeah, I'm gonna get Yakuza 0, and I want to play through Yakuza the series, and it's all available on PS4 now.
So since you're getting Kiwami for free, you're gonna go ahead and hop on 0 because
I've been advised to play 0 first. Like I've been advised to play it in pretty much chronological order.
Yeah.
Where some people will say that it is smarter to play 0 last.
I haven't heard much about that, but that's interesting because it does, like you say, chronologically, it takes place before everything, right?
So people will use Star Wars as like an analogy kind of thing, where you can watch the original trilogy and then watch the prequel trilogy, and it'd be fine, or you can watch them in order. But if you watch them the way they came out, there's obvious hints about like what's going on beforehand. So like there's supposed to be stuff in 0 that kind of correlates to the rest of the series that you wouldn't really know.
That's more rewarding if you play it afterwards. I can see that.
So I mean, probably just little nods here and there, but that's it.
I mean, that's true of Birth by Sleep too, and that's kind of why I tend not to tell people to play Birth by Sleep first for Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't really make as much sense to you, and like it's crazy when you see who you see in the game.
Yeah, you play Kingdom Hearts in a release order.
Not quite, but close.
No,
really close.
Except you just take out Recoded.
Well, you can watch Recoded these days, so I'd still advise just to watch it because it's not very long, and it's still definitely, now that we know that Kingdom Hearts 3 is apparently using data Riku and the data blocks that were corrupted.
Now you gotta watch it.
Who knows,
it's the
man?
weakest Kingdom Hearts game there is.
They're gonna do some weird stuff. I never even watched the video. I'm gonna go back and watch it just to see if it got better. Yeah, I beat the game.
Yeah,
so that's why I didn't worry about it.
You know, it's not the strongest, or it's not a strong Kingdom Hearts game.
Not at all. I did rewatch the 358/2.
Yeah, that's a strong one.
Movie, just because I like that game anyway.
The correlation between that and Chain of Memories, I guess. I don't want to go too far into it, but it's
Bulletstorm's cool though. Did you ever play that on 360 or PS3?
Didn't care.
It's a weird, it was all that Epic style. I think wasn't it Epic originally published it anyway?
I thought it was
because it's very Gears of War looking. It's crazy. I mean, I like the idea of it in the similar setup of Doom, where it's more about how flashy and crazy your kills are.
I just blanked. What was it? Bulletstorm.
Yeah, Bulletstorm.
I just typed in bullet. I couldn't remember what the worst one was.
It'll give us that confirmation while I move on to the next thing, which is apparently, after the rumors of 100 gigabyte plus file size for Call of Duty Black Ops 4, the PS Store page for the game has been updated, revealing it's actually 42.37 gigs for the standard edition and 44.41 gigs for the deluxe edition, despite what pictures show in the back of the box art stated. Saul, would you have any reason why you could think that the box is calling for 100 gigs even though it doesn't require it? Do you think that this is one of those weird things where, like, when an operating system takes up more room than necessary
is it
to plan for future updates?
Well, to download a game on any place on PlayStation right now, you have to have almost double the size free. Even if the game is 40, you still have to have something around 80 free. You still won't download.
Well, the download side is what this is coming off of from the PlayStation Store. So the physical disc picture, though, is what's calling for 100 gigs.
Right. So it's probably just calling. It's just telling you to be more safe than sorry, because you don't want to get home and have to delete these games if you didn't plan on it.
Maybe.
There also could be stuff like day one patches too that it's accounting for, especially with blackout.
Yeah.
So
that's what I was thinking too, or even accounting for first month free content and stuff, being like, hey, just prep up because by the time this game's said and done, it's going to be around 100 gigs. Because if you think about it, by the time that Black Ops 3 was done and Infinite Warfare, they both neared 100 or broke 100 gigs when they had all the DLC.
Yeah.
So I could see it being true here, but
20 gigs, I guess, is a lot, but I'm pretty sure Grand Theft Auto 5 on my system's like 80 gigs. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, apparently if you have everything for Grand Theft Auto 5, it breaks 100, or it goes very close to 100.
Destiny is also massive, but not quite as massive. I think it's 50 or 60.
Yeah, Destiny 1 was
that's
really big.
Yeah. I don't know how big Destiny 2 is off the top of my
either,
head,
but Destiny 1 was massive.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
So you guys better free up that space.
Next up, JRPG fans who like dual audio tracks, and this is good for Liam, can rejoice as God Eater 3 has been revealed to include both English and Japanese voiceovers in its Western release sometime in 2019. I don't know if he has any interest in God Eater, but I know he likes the idea of dual audio tracks. Capitalizing on the seemingly growing interest in Kingdom Hearts 3, and this is super weird, Square Enix have announced Kingdom Hearts, the story so far, an inclusive collection consisting of the titles from both 1.5 plus 2.5 Remix and 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue in one package for $40 coming October 30th. The $40 price point's cool.
It's a very good package for the price because you can still, like right now, if you go to GameStop, at least they're
$30 each or something like that?
$40 for 2.8 alone.
Brand new?
Brand new.
Oh, okay. Well, then there you go. Yeah, it's totally worth the money for that. Yeah. Now, here's the weird side of this.
You basically get the collections for free.
Every time that they go and release these collections, I have to sit there and really seriously wonder what is going on with this still not coming to Xbox. And it really does lead me to believe that there is some kind of deal that's been put in place, which I thought it was very weird with 10. And I thought it was very weird with, the 10 and 10.2 HD remaster. I thought it was weird with the 12, even though 12 came to PC day one alongside it, but it was still console exclusive to PlayStation.
Yeah.
But now, 12 and 10 are both coming to Xbox. We know that.
Which is crazy because Switch is going to get them first.
So, even with that being said, though, why do we still have no word on Kingdom Hearts coming out for Xbox prior to Kingdom Hearts 3?
Yeah, I wonder if there's been something that has been announced since we last talked about it, because I don't really know.
Well, look,
why?
Because of the fact that 2.8 even came out as an exclusive, considering it was all new games as well, or what I say is all new games that hadn't been previously remastered, whereas 1.5 and 2.5 were remastered on PS3, and then all they did was got moved up to PS4. That's not as crazy, but whenever 2.8 came and included a brand new game, and then that brand new game
and a movie too.
Yeah, that's also important to what's going on. It's one of those weird things where it's like, I don't understand what's going on. Now, I think you're looking up the thing where Tetsuya said that currently it's not in their, like, they're not working on anything.
Right.
But it's just a weird move. Definitely now, because you want to look and go, well, Sony apparently either has the longest exclusivity contract in the world with them, or Square, or something's going on where they're like talking to Square about something, and it really leads you to wonder what exactly is going on. The main reason being is that I feel like it can't be the Xbox isn't pushing for it, because Xbox pushed to get Kingdom Hearts on their showcase for E3. But if they were wanting to push that hard to get Kingdom Hearts 3 on their showcase for the largest conference in video gaming, why would they also not try and be like, okay, now we got to follow that up with getting the actual collections over to this system so that people can play them before the game?
It doesn't make a lot of sense if you've always been an Xbox gamer and you want to experience Kingdom Hearts, because you're not going to know anything that is going on.
And again, that's assuming that the game, I have a hard time believing that the game can easily set you up.
Well, it's been confirmed that there's a movie in the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 3 that catches you up, but still, there are so many threads of story in that game, or in those series, I should say, that series, excuse me. But there's so many questions that can be left unanswered.
Yeah, that's still just a weird move, but we will see if it ever comes out. I just think it's going to be weirdest if it ends up coming out to Xbox after the release of Kingdom Hearts 3, because that's going to be pointless.
Yeah.
All right, it's not going to be pointless, but it's going to be
a lost cause.
It's not capitalizing on it when it's important.
No.
So that's just one of those odd statements. But Red Dead Redemption 2's early access PS4 content has been detailed on the PS blog. PS4 players can gain access to the Grizzlies Outlaw outfit in the story and at the online mode's launch. And a red chestnut Arabian horse, alligator skin ranch cutter saddle, and high roller double action revolver, all at the launch of Red Dead Online. So these will be available on PS4 30 days in advance of Xbox, since those are the only two consoles, or the only two systems in general that this is coming out on platforms. Bandai Namco have revealed a collector's edition for Ace Combat 7 that is currently announced only for Europe, of course, because they get all the really weird, cool ones. So sorry, Ryan, you can't do anything cool about it. But it comes with a die-cast metal figurine of the Arsenal bird, an art book, a metal pen, embroidered patches, along with the game and its season pass. So if you're in the European territories and you like the game, go check it out. I don't remember seeing a price, but it wouldn't mean much to me anyway. I don't understand the currency over there. Stirring more to the pot, and the mysterious nature of PS4 6.0 firmware release. Developers are claiming to be preparing for PSN name changes, and it sounds an awful lot like what we heard rumored last year. But we'll get into that in a second. It sounds like it will be a change that works on your system itself and current future multiplayer games, but older games would be time-consuming to retroactively fix to show the updated name, so they would likely skip this. So this is currently rumor. That's the first thing to get out of here. There's no telling if this is true, but it seems like there's enough writing on the wall to go that this makes sense, that this is something that's been going on. It is interesting to me that it's so close to what the rumor was over a year ago. It was before PSX last year that they were even rumoring about having it set up to where it's a nickname that's basically an added layer on top that they basically program everything moving forward to look to. But of course, like we said, the flip side of that is, regardless of what your name is now, even if the system shows it to you as what the thing's supposed to be, and party chat looks for the nickname, and when you're going through and searching for people, it searches for the nickname. Even if you have all that going on, going back to old multiplayer games that are coded to go into and look at the original PSN ID that everything's tied to,
it'll still probably be the original.
That's a really interesting way to go about doing it. And it's still... It means to me that it looks like they're trying to do a fix for PSN to where they don't have to abandon PSN going into PS5 and relaunch with a new one, which makes a lot of sense. And I've always said, even though I think it would help them in a lot of areas to potentially do that from a getting things set up, it would hurt them in a business standpoint to have to do that. And of course, you'd run the risk of shutting PSN down for PS4 and PS3 users, which are still going to be around, definitely PS4 users. So it's a weird setup, but I do think that we are on the cusp of seeing something about it, and that regardless of whether they're having a PSX or not, we probably are looking at name changes this year. So, I mean, I don't know where they'd announce it. It looks to me like what their current thing would be is it wouldn't be a big announcement on the stage. It would just be a PS blog update.
Yeah.
They would just come in and go, hey, guys, Sid with the people, just want to let you know you can change your names today.
That'd be funny.
I mean... It's weird because at this point it's been going on so long that it's probably better not to give it that much attention anyway, and just do it like passively, like,
just
hey,
flip a switch
casually. Hey, here we are. Change your names.
Yeah, so
Not gonna make a big deal out of it. You go do it now since you've been wanting to do it. I still think it'd be a good PR move for them. They're still gonna have to dodge the fact that it's not gonna be perfect since old games are not gonna be able to utilize it.
I mean, yeah, but I don't think it's a big deal if it's not.
I would imagine
your
that
name shows like big deal.
Sure.
Like, it's not game
think-
breaking, system breaking.
Absolutely, and I think that even games that have been out for a long time that people still play, I think most Call of Duty games would probably go in and fix it because it's worth it.
Yeah.
At that point,
yeah, the popular games.
It would be dead games that are not going to be affected by it. So, or games that have a lower player base. There's no reason to go in and do it. I believe that. So,
right.
Despite the team responsible for the game being closed, with some devs dispersed into other sections of Codemasters, Onrush is set to receive its promised free update, adding 4 new tracks to the game. This is good to see. Codemasters, whenever they shut them down, said that they were going to go ahead and support what their original post-launch content plans were, and they just moved a small group of people into working on them, even though the developer itself no longer exists. So the game has been half off since the initially low sales for the game, with Codemasters trying to recoup as much as possible. I've pretty much seen it half off perpetually. They're doing everything they can. I mean, they've added it to Games Pass. They're doing everything they can to get this into people's hands.
Games Pass.
Yep, on Xbox. Now, of course, I didn't. But I'm just saying it goes to show you that that's how they're doing it. I don't think it's on PC that way, but if you have an Xbox console, you can just get it on Games Pass. They just want the game in as much hands as possible to try and make up and get as much money as possible to make up what they gave into it. It sucks. That game was really well designed, or really well, what should I say, this optimized. It ran at a beautiful frame rate. It looked really good. It just wasn't what people were wanting, and that's an unfortunate thing. It was a thing where the developers knew what they wanted, and they did something that was really truly unique, but it just wasn't what the people who were going to support them wanted, and that's sad. But I mean, it happens. So here we are. We'll save this one since we're going to use it to kind of go into the topic, but for now, Farpoint has been revealed to be the best-selling PSVR required game in the U.S. since the VR launch. Now, that's important, obviously, because it's requiring, not just supporting. I think Resident Evil 7 obviously would be above that because it supports it, but as a PSVR exclusive title, that's pretty impressive, and I do think a lot of people look to Farpoint. It did a lot of things early on that you're still seeing in games now. Firewall's obviously been affected by this, and the way that it dealt with comfort controls, and that was a big deal, is that going into Firewall, I didn't even have my normally like 5 to 10 minutes of uncomfort that I normally get. It's only made me feel slightly weird once. It gave me that weird stomach pit when I was can't remember why I was doing it, but it was just a weird thing. I was running upstairs in the game, and I decided that it was stairs in a corner right at the top of the stairs, and I was like, oh wait, I need to crouch, and I forgot that you could just or at the time I didn't even know that you can hit circle
to
crouch. I crouched physically because that's how it also works, and I was still moving up the stairs, but I was moving my body down, and that got me. But outside of that, the game's been very comfortable. So with that said, I think it's cool, and congratulations to the developers for Farpoint. I can't remember the name of them, but I hope we see another one. I think that it set a good foundation, and they could definitely make a cool sequel. Even if they decide to hold off until making a Farpoint sequel or whatever they're going to do with that, whoever that team is, even if it means that we have to wait until we get the PSVR 2 with the PS5 or however that ends up working out, I still think that they obviously deserve another chance. And they may be able to do that. Who knows? They may be looking at them to think about how to keep the technology moving forward in a way that can be price conscious on a console, and letting them kind of give the feedback on how to do that. Because I do truly believe that we're going to see the end of the PS Move style of tracking.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't be able to use that gun. The gun is tracked pretty well, though the drifting issues are still their own thing. So regardless of how they choose to go about tracking, I do think it becomes multi-camera, multi-positional.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it needs to be. It needs to be
I
to
agree.
keep up with the Vive and the Oculus Rift.
Well, yeah, and essentially, if you think about it, the Vive and the Oculus Rift both use dual-point cameras that look at you and then track you in 3D by being able to actually look at where you are through two different dimensions. Now, when you look at that, the Oculus Rift is like what, $600, $650 when it came out. It may have price dropped now, but that's what the technology cost in 14, 15 when it came out.
15, I think.
So if you think about how it's going to go forward, they'd be able to hold that same $400 VR price point and bring you similar technology behind it now, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And I can't see a reason for them to go with the Move again. At the time, if it would have been for Move
2016.
tracking. Okay, 2016. Still, gives us the basic idea of, I feel like that technology by the time that they're ready for VR2 will be consumer, like price friendly enough that we obviously get that, and then we all benefit from it on the console side. Even if technically at that point, VR on PlayStation will still be technically generationally behind whatever comes next from Rift and Vive. But it doesn't matter because it's going to be as good as Rift and Vive are now with the games that PlayStation's been able to secure that the Vive and the Rift have not quite been able to get, or they get later. So obviously PlayStation's had a stranglehold on games, and the fact of ease of use with hooking it up with a console, that's going to continue. I can't see PlayStation ceding the ground as top of the VR. That's why I truly believe there's a second VR coming. They are the top of the market right now. Why cede that?
That's true.
It's different. Seeding the handheld market when they've tried already, and they've tried twice, and neither time did they beat Nintendo. They gave it a real try, you know? So this particular case, they gave it a try and are doing well. Last thing before we go into the main topic one, due to tweets from Anthem's executive producer, we know a few more things about the game. First of all, it will not have PvP at launch. Its raids will launch with matchmaking, which is interesting because even Destiny 2 didn't launch with matchmaking.
Nope, it came at the beginning of year one, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Or the beginning of the end of year one.
Yeah, and then that was even one of those things where it was basically because they had a lot of people asking for it because they didn't want to raid by themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and supposedly it works really good. It just can take a while to get match made.
Sure. Trading will not be possible in the game, and loot drops will be geared towards the javelin that you are currently using, though there will be a chance for drops that are useful in other javelins. I like that idea a lot because it means that while you're playing on a specific character, and since the fact that they're going with javelins being more akin to the Warframe idea where you change your outfit and that changes your playstyle, instead of you having to log out and change, or log out of that one character and go and switch to a whole new character. I like that because it means that when you're playing, you may end up getting a drop that for some reason is just great for this other javelin that you have. But for the most part, if you're trying to up that javelin, you're only getting stuff for him. Excuse me. Which feels very in line with what Destiny was doing. You normally got drops and stuff that was useful for the class that you were in, but you'd occasionally get something that was for like a warlock, even if you were a Titan.
And it was frustrating every time.
Yeah. So, I mean, but since it's not frustrating in this sense because you can go ahead and use it on the other one anyway, it doesn't matter.
That's if you have another one, though.
Another javelin in this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think from what they, again, I think about what Warframe's doing, and I imagine it's going to be somewhat, definitely since Anthem is going to be paid for, I think that you probably have the ability to have at least 3 starting javelins, if not all javelins at launch. You may have all 4.
Well, I'm just saying your preference. So, like, you could technically have all 3 Destiny characters at start.
Sure, but they're individual characters.
Yeah, if I don't ever play as a hunter and I get an exotic drop that's a hunter's exotic drop, I'm going to be pretty mad that wasn't for me.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Definitely considering that you can't trade. I wonder if they'd ever... Well, can you sell in Destiny?
No.
I don't even think about it.
No.
You can just disassemble, right?
You could disassemble to get...
currency that, yeah.
Well, yeah, you get currency, you get planetary materials, you get masterwork cores now, or you sometimes get masterwork cores.
Well, I don't know. That looks pretty interesting. So this is more, I like them and I play them, but as we're calling them, the loot shooter, the looter shooter. So, I mean, what is your take on how all this is going to go forward?
I think it's fine. I don't think PvP, like, I'm not super into PvP in Destiny 2. Like, I'll play it. I'll do it every week to get the weekly stuff done. But... Destiny 2, me and Brett said this before the show, like, Destiny 2 could launch without Crucible, and I would have been fine.
And I think most people honestly would have. Yeah. At the launch of the game, everybody was trying to get into the meat of the game. But what I was also telling Saul right before we started when we saw this was, I think this lends a lot of credence to what they have said over and over again, which is that they are focusing on making a game because of Destiny 2, so we actually kind of have Destiny 2 to thank for this, because of the backlash Destiny 2 got for not being as story-centric as they were hoping for. And then, of course, we can thank Mass Effect, where they were like, okay, we've got to make sure that we're pulling together a good narrative. It does look like they're giving all the signs that they are working as hard as they can to make sure that the story and the single-player PvE experience makes the most sense and does a really good job. And if they are, and it launches in the state that they continuously act like it's going to launch in, we're in really good shape.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I'm still excited for the game. I mean, I like third-person shooters, and I think that the game has a lot of unique ideas. I like the ability of just flying around your, whatever you want to call it, your exosuit or whatever.
Javelin?
Your javelin. But, yeah, I mean...
I thought that's what they were.
That's what they are. But, I mean, still, I like the idea of being able to fly that around in open space and even utilizing that in boss fights and stuff, as we've seen, or, bigger enemy fights. The game looks cool. I mean, are you day one still?
Yeah, I'm still day one. I'm getting that over anything else on February 22nd. Granted, everything's going to launch on that day.
I'm probably going to get Days Gone alongside it just because.
I don't think I'll buy Days Gone.
We'll see.
I'll probably borrow it from you. Or Sean, or whoever, somebody else.
I know that I'm going to buy it because I just want to support Bend, even though
I don't do that.
I wouldn't if they had let me down ever before, but they just hadn't.
Well, no, I don't. So, I don't like if it's a product that I'm iffy about, but like if I had it affiliated towards the company, I'm not going to buy it strictly to support the company. If I'm iffy about the product,
I mean, I get your point, and normally I wouldn't either, but I do have mild loyalty, and I'm like, well, this is a weird step for them, and I really hope that it works out in their favor, and I'm also of the mindset of I have the disposable income mildly at least to be able to do that. And I know that I'll probably likely enjoy the game even mildly. That's basically what I'm doing with Red Dead. I don't know that I'm going to like Red Dead. I'm still iffy on it, but I'm going to go ahead and pick it up. And that's not even to support the company.
I was gonna say that's
also but it's basically, even with Days Gone, it is to support the company, but it's also because I see myself having the potential to mildly enjoy it, even though I don't know if I'll love it.
Yeah.
And even if that means I play it for 5 hours and put it down and go, yeah, it wasn't for me. It's exactly what might happen with Red Dead, but I do have enough of an interest built in the back of my mind to go, it's worth picking it up. And then the upside is it does, in Days Gone's case, does support a developer that I've traditionally liked all their games.
Yeah. So,
but I guess I shouldn't say that it's doing it to support the company as much as I'm saying that I'm doing it because the company's never done me wrong to the point where even if I'm not quite sold on the game, I believe in the company enough that the game should be good just because of the the pedigree of the developer.
It makes sense.
So, but that is better wording. So thank you for that. All right, last thing, and what we're going to use to move in. I guess before that, we will go into reader mail.
Does that sound good? Yeah.
Okay.
So for those that don't know, every Wednesday and Friday we post a tweet on Twitter over there at Triangle SQRD, where we ask you guys to ask us questions. And every episode we answer 2 from Twitter, 1 from Facebook, and for a total of 3. And then we did change it in case y'all haven't noticed. I got it right this time. But we put the rest of them in a reader mail and a reader mail document, and then we answer all of those the very first Friday of every month. In case you haven't realized, you can catch the September reader mail this month
It's live now.
Live now. September for the reader episode for last month of September. But
beautifully spoken, Saul.
Since we have no Facebook questions, we will be doing 3 from Twitter this go around.
Yeah, I forgot on Facebook. I apologize, guys.
Yeah,
I've had a rough week.
He had a week like I did last week.
I've had a rough 2 weeks, to be honest. So
yeah,
I've just been rolling with the punches.
So we have Vincent. He says, "What sequels would you like to see, but no, they would never happen?" Mine is Legend of Dragoon. I had to agree with Legend of Dragoon because I know that will never happen. I know a remaster that will probably never happen either.
Legend is an obviously good answer. I mean, just truly. I don't know that I'm still of the mindset that it'll never happen. They get asked about it a lot.
Yeah, but
even if it's a remake, to be honest, I would consider that enough that I guess it's technically not a sequel, but it is coming back to an idea of a game just to see how people do it. If they remake it and flesh a little bit of the stuff out by nature of how much more games can do now, similar to what they're doing with Final Fantasy VII, if they do it and it's got the right guidance behind it, I'm totally down for that.
I don't know, though. That's good. That'd be interesting to see because I wouldn't think they would ever do that. I don't think that we'll ever see that game in any capacity.
Part of the reason I also think is that Shuhei specifically mentions that he loves the game. And, he is somewhat responsible. So I think if they get a team, I could see it being one of those things where maybe Sony doesn't push for it themselves, but if they ever got a team in Japan studio that just came up with like, hey, we love that game. Here's our idea for remaking the game, that she would probably be like, let's go take it and see if we can get it approved. That doesn't mean that it would get approved, but I don't know. It's one of those weird things where they sit on a lot of IP. A lot of IP. Some of it makes sense that they don't use anymore to an extent because you look and you're like, well, there's just not a lot of that in the current gaming landscape. But JRPGs have made a massive comeback this generation. And I think when you constantly have a good market for it as well as people asking you for it, the potential for it to happen does increase, whether it's just overwhelming. So
yeah,
I think it's a good one. I think... I wonder, do you think that the wording implies that it needs to be a single game release? What would you say? What sequels would you like to see?
Sequels.
Okay, so that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Sly 5, and I specifically mean Sly 5, not a reboot, not anything else, because Sly 4 left at such a point that I'm like, I need to know what happens, but the game did not sell well enough to ever warrant another one being made. But even with that game not performing well, they are apparently moving forward with a Sly Cooper TV show, so which may never come to fruition.
Yeah.
But my point being is that they sit on stuff for the longest time, and then they utilize it in the weirdest of ways. Like I think that Ratchet and Clank,
the movie,
being a game, made total sense.
Yeah, being a movie,
definitely when the movie and the game are the same story.
Exactly.
And so it's like, why would you not just play the obviously better game?
Exactly.
And get the same story, and even have literally pieces of the animated movie spliced into the game. It's a weird step.
It was very contrasting for the little bit I played of it.
Trying to think of another one that may get there, because my longest time.
I'll say Horizon 2.
Well, but it'll get made. I don't know. Didn't he say that? You don't think would get made?
What sequels would like to see that they would never happen?
But you know that they'll never happen. If you would have asked me this prior to Nier Automata being announced, I would have said Nier. I would have never in a million years thought that game would have gotten a sequel. And it's not a direct sequel, but it is a sequel. And that's a good answer for it.
Gravity Rush 3.
Oh, yeah. Gravity Rush 2 is very unlikely to be a sequel. I would actually like that a lot. That's a good answer, Saul. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Did you play Gravity Rush 2?
No. I want to. I still will one day.
I have it. You can borrow it.
I have no time right now to play that game.
Well, yeah, but I'm thinking you can borrow it whenever you want to.
I've actually thought about going back through and playing Gravity Rush 1 on Vita.
Oh, yeah, it's fun.
But for some reason, it's not my downloads list, which is scary. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
Did you get it as a free PS Plus title?
It was a free PS Plus title for like 2 years.
Yeah, it was.
And I got it, and I downloaded it, and I never beat it, but I got far enough into the game that I got probably 6 hours in. I think it's only like probably 14 hours, 16 hours.
Maybe.
So
the most recent time I've played it, I didn't do a lot of the extra stuff because I was like, I want to play the story. So I have a very odd feel of what it actually was, but I love that game. It's very good.
As weird it is some people say Skyrim, like they want a Skyrim sequel. They don't want Elder Scrolls 6. They want a Skyrim sequel. I don't think that should ever happen.
I can't imagine that being a good answer in my mind because I've got all the Skyrim I needed. A sequel would take place in Skyrim again. How are you going to change the landscape enough to make it fun?
Yeah, like you wouldn't. unless it was like years in the future.
Well, you could say 100 years in the future, but it's still going to probably be the same mountains in the same spot. Now the cities may change, but
well, what game was it that did that? Where it was in the future, but it was drastically different. I can't remember. If I think about it, I'll come back to it.
Yeah, was it an RPG?
Yeah, it was
really?
an RPG where you could. It was almost like a reboot remaster situation, if I remember correctly, but it wasn't, and it looked like it was supposed to be, but it wasn't. Was it?
Man, you have me like super curious about that now.
I don't remember.
I hope you figure it out so that you can tell me, just so my curiosity will.
Yeah, there is a part in it that's like, it's so drastically different, but it feels familiar in the game that it shouldn't be there, or you shouldn't be having to do this. But if I think of it, I'll definitely say it.
So it's more of like an Easter egg capacity.
No. It's just, it doesn't feel right. It'd be like Skyrim too. It wouldn't feel right playing the game. It'd probably be fun, but it wouldn't feel natural.
Yeah, I just think that the obvious way to go is to
Elder Scrolls 6.
Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah.
Go to a new place, and then of course you get the ability to go back to Skyrim and Elder Scrolls Online, and then do whatever you want to do in Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, because you can
and
actually
Skyrim
go back
on.
to.
Yeah, there's different story.
Yeah, you can go back to Shadenhall and stuff as a town in Skyrim, if I remember, or in Elder Scrolls Online, if I remember correctly. I know you go to other big towns like Bruma from Oblivion.
Yeah.
But next up, we have our good friend Sean Neo. He says, as it's Halloween at the end of the month, I will ask, what is your favorite scary movie and game? So for movie, I can't, I guess we'll do movie then game.
Yeah.
I can't answer movie. I will say that off the top of my head, one that comes out is The Ritual. It's on Netflix. I think it was made by Netflix. Really good cult style, demonic style horror movie. But it's so fresh on me I watched it a couple months ago that I really enjoyed it. But Hell House LLC is also really, really good.
It's a weird question because I don't watch a lot of movies, and pretty much anybody who knows me personally knows that.
But I watch too many horror movies. That's my problem, is that I have too many.
Nothing's
to pick from.
I can't ever remember a movie that honestly scared me. That's one of those weird things. Not since I've been an adult. You know what I mean?
Really?
Not even since I've been.
You need to watch Hell House LLC when
something
in the dark.
The only thing that ever scared me, and even as a kid, the only thing it was, and it's such a dumb movie to answer this to, but it just truly was.
James
I
and
was
John
like
Peach.
4. No, I was like 4 or 5. We
terrified
lived
me.
here at the time, and my bedroom was right over here where Kyrie's is, and I ran from that bedroom through the bathroom into my parents' room at the time, and jumped in their bed because I woke up to go pee in the middle of the night when I was like 4 or 5, and whenever I was in the bathroom, there's a window that I've since covered up whenever I remodeled the bathroom.
Is this why?
And no. It's just for space reasons because that bathroom's tiny. Anyway, so that window, though, I had watched the day before I fell asleep, we had watched Ernest Halloween. And you remember the weird troll thing from Ernest Halloween?
Yeah.
I swear I saw it in the window, and it terrified me. And that's the only movie that ever got to me that way. And it did. What was weird is that it didn't scare me when watching the movie. It scared me when I woke up, went pee, and thought I saw
because
it.
that thing's not supposed to be in your side yard.
Well, it's because I think even then my mind was like, well, this isn't supposed to be real. But then when I saw it, I was like, it is real.
So Ernest Halloween is your scariest movie. Okay.
Sure, we'll roll through with that. I would say that my thing is I tend to like movies that are psychological thrillers or stuff like, I really like the first Saw movie because it's weird and unsettling. But I'll go also, I like The Strangers a lot. The Strangers was an interesting take on trying to do that, where it's not trying to be scary, it's trying to be unsettling, and it succeeds in a couple of key places.
You would like It Follows.
Probably.
That's a really
I've actually
good
heard
movie.
somebody else tell me about that when I brought up The Stranger.
It's a
so
super
I
interesting
almost wonder
concept.
if it's not
It's
the
not
same
really a
thing.
similar movie at all, but it's a very
But
similar
they give you
build-up of a kind of movie.
Yeah.
As far as scary game goes, I'm gonna have to say Alien Isolation. Couldn't play it past a certain point because not only did it get a little frustrating because of my patience, but it gave me bad anxiety. The sound direction of that game is really good, and then of course Alien as a creature, is a really well made alien design. So that I think, or Resident Evil 7 in VR was pretty terrifying.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go through. It was either going to be 3 options, realistically. What got me the most for some weird reason, Dead Space 2. I think I've told the story in the podcast before where I was playing Dead Space 2 with the surround sound all the way up, and I actually had my speakers set up right in this bedroom whenever I was playing it. and it was nighttime because I always played those games at nighttime because I wanted to try and get as far as I could into them. Like with that, because they are decidedly more creepy and atmospheric. But there's a part where I've talked about before. Where I know I've told you this at least before, with the kangaroo little things in Dead Space 2, where they have like you see the shadows, but you can't see them, and then they run super quick at you. And it was just something about like the right space, right time. And I turned around and I saw it running at me when I didn't know where it was, and I was trying to run away, and it just got me. And I was like, ah! Like
something happened.
The
to me
only time I have ever
like
audibly shrieked, and I was like, I feel like a wimp. But other than that, I think if I have to go through a game that prior to Resident Evil 7 in VR gave me the most, like, wow, this is tense. Outlast.
That's a good one, too.
And I played Outlast with my 7.1 surround sound headphones that I had. That, oh, man, they blew me away. I could not believe it. But then Resident Evil 7 definitely overtook it, man. Because there's the thing about VR is that it gives you that three-dimensional sound, but then it also puts stuff in your face. And I mean, it's not even that the game is inherently scary if you were watching it on a screen. I mean, it's got moments, but it's when you're right there in it, everything was kind of getting me. Whenever
it's the same as me, like
early on,
Alien.
whenever she stabs you in the hand,
yeah,
dude. I remember when she swung at me, I rose my hand up. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And then when she stabbed it, I was like, ah.
It's the same as Alien. It does a really good job of putting you in its environment.
Yeah, it does. It's just, and that's why I say that I like the idea of VR so much. And that was one of the reasons I was so bummed that since it came after VR that we didn't see that with Outlast 2. Because I was like, Outlast was so tense that I would like to experience the idea behind Outlast with VR. So, meh.
Our last question is our good boy Loki Fenrir. He says, do you think a third-party and or indie-focused PSX this year could have worked? Absolutely. I think that it would have been fun.
I feel like that's basically what we answered last week's episode. But yeah, I mean,
no, well, we were talking about our poll, which is was something similar, but indie.
No,
focused.
Sure, but that's what I was saying is that regardless of what it was, I think that even if Sony would have just had a PSX and not worried about showing any of their first-party stuff, it would have been a cool thing for them to just bring out and get people together. Now, I think it would have worked, and it would have been good for PR. People would have enjoyed it. Does that mean that it would have been the best use of their money and their time and their energy? Maybe not. And as bad as it is to have to think about that, and because I mean, I really seriously was disappointed that my planned vacation for a year was just kind of destroyed. I do genuinely start to understand it when I start to think about the fact that this, just like we said, signals PS5 that much closer. And my excitement for the next generation of consoles beats out the fact that my vacation's ruined.
Yeah.
But I still think it could have worked. Absolutely. I think that, the most fun I ever have at PSX is in the indie section, so I would have been okay with that. But of course, you have to have big third parties there. So
I feel like there is a con too for indies that is very popular and very successful, but I can't think of what it is. I know it's not Retropalooza because that's a like the retro game style con.
I mean, I'm sure indies do pretty well at PAX, and PAX goes across the country more or less.
Yeah, I'm going to say there's probably not because that's not even popping up.
I don't know.
But anyways, Brett, why don't you lead us into the main topic of the show?
Okay, so the topic stems from Capcom and their ever so crazy ideas. But hot off Mega Man 11, Capcom revealed plans for the Blue Bomber to be adapted into a live-action movie like they appear to do with every single thing that they own. We got Resident Evil turned into its own weird movie series that has nothing to do with the games. Then we got the announcement earlier this year that hot off the success of Monster Hunter, that they want to make a Monster Hunter live action movie. And then now we're capping it all off with Capcom wanting to make Mega Man. Now what's weird about it is that Monster Hunter didn't get any kind of announcement until it was popular.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter World was the catalyst for like, okay, Monster Hunter's a bigger deal than anything. But Mega Man's been popular forever. And, I don't remember Mega Man ever having a cartoon series prior to now. Do you? Like Sonic did. It wasn't great, but it is what it was.
Was there?
Oh, a Sonic series or a Mega Man?
No, Mega Man.
I don't know because, look, I'll give you a little bit more. So if you're curious about who's making it, It's
was.
going to be distributed by 20th Century Fox. Chernin Entertainment, which is the people behind the Planet of the Apes series, the most recent one, are producing the movie. So that actually sells. That makes me feel a little bit better about it. And apparently, right now, there's an animated series called Mega Man Fully Charged that started coming out this month. Oh,
from 94.
94 had a Mega Man,
and it looks like there's. God, that looks bad.
Is that the new one?
I don't know what that is. It's 2018 cartoon.
What's Ben 10
coming
Mega Man?
to MIPCOM. No idea what that is.
Me either. That's okay. But you know, it's interesting. We see a lot of people do this or announce these plans. We saw Sony jump the gun and say that there's going to be a Last of Us movie, there's going to be an Uncharted movie, and none of that has ended up coming out. The only movie that Sony ever said they were going to do that ended up coming to fruition was Ratchet and Clank, which was poorly reviewed, poorly received because there was a game out at the same time. And then we saw that the fact that Ratchet and Clank did so bad, we saw them move away from plans for the Sly Cooper movie and have those plans turn into a Sly Cooper animated series.
Sony really makes bad decisions with their movies. Now, of course, this is not the PlayStation version I'm talking about.
Well, they do, but then you also have things where it's like Sony doing Enter the Spider-Verse, which looks amazing.
Well, yeah, and then Fury, and there is good Sony movies, but like you hear Sony movies and you're just like, ugh, Venom. They should have given Disney that character.
I honestly,
they should have made the movie and put Venom in the Spider-Man game.
I can't say anything about Venom because I haven't seen it. I refuse judgment on it currently.
But even then, Disney will do a better job at making a Spider-Man movie than Sony will because they have.
Actually, I mean, the Spider-Man, yeah, but Venom being decidedly different than Spider-Man because even Spider-Man outside of Venom and Carnage is traditionally not a very M-rated character. When you're going to make a movie that's specifically about somebody who's crazy like Venom and Carnage for sure, I feel like those movies need the rated M treatment, and we know for a fact that Disney won't give it.
Yeah, but
20th Century Fox, on the other hand, not that it would have mattered, and they wouldn't get those benefits anyway. But, well, would they?
Probably.
Because technically he's a mutant. Spider-Man's a mutant. But because Spider-Man was sold as different movie rights, that's probably why 20th Century Fox never got it.
Well, and that's why you don't hear people refer to...
Well, no, he's not a mutant. He was bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, he wasn't a mutant. But
so,
you don't hear him referred to as mutants even in the Disney Infinity
Yeah,
War
you're right. You're right. So that's a good
forgot
point.
what they refer him to as. But it's not mutants. But anyway, it's like Venom doesn't exist without Spider-Man. That's why he looks the way he does. That's why Venom has web slingers, and he still has those in the movie.
Sniffling and stuff.
I haven't seen the movie. This is in the trailer. This is no spoiler. But he still has like the weird web slinger things. That shouldn't exist because Spider-Man doesn't exist in that universe. Venom should not exist.
Well, they didn't say that Spider-Man doesn't exist in the Venom universe, but he's not shown in the movie, so you have no reason to tie the two together outside of just knowing that Venom originally stems from Spider-Man.
So was it Sam Raimi Spider-Man or was it Amazing Spider-Man?
We need to know. Well, if
there's a petition going on to get Tobey Maguire in the new Spider-Man Far From Home movie show up as the pizza delivery guy saying pizza time.
Dude, I would actually love that.
I would too. I'd clap. I hate people who clap in movies, but that would make me clap.
Anyway, that aside, now we're getting in the thick of comic books going into movies, but I guess what it comes down to is that movie adaptations are always weird, but specifically when you think about
video game
movies. So it looks like Saul's pulled up a list of all these terribly done video game movies. So
there's so many of them.
It started off well. Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within
is number one.
When I saw that as a kid, when it first came,
Advent Children's good though.
I thought it was a completely different animated movie that just happened to have the name of Final Fantasy until I finally started watching it and realized that it was supposed to be tied into the general idea of a Final Fantasy game. I was like, this is a very odd decision.
I like Silent Hill too.
The original Silent Hill movie is actually one of the only movies I've ever seen done from a video game that I was like, oh, this is good.
I don't think Doom is on this list, and it should be because Doom is a terrible movie.
Doom is a bad movie.
But we have stuff like Resident Evil, which bad film series. The first two were pretty
they were
decent.
okay.
They were very campy,
yeah.
but they were very decent. Then after the when the third one came out, it became a downhill.
Well, do you remember? You remember when Resident Evil did the? It was Apocalypse, I think, where it had the little like laser slicer, where it was like you went down the hallway and it'd come.
They jumped through it.
Yeah.
What that thing was Apocalypse, wasn't it? Then Apocalypse
Pretty sure.
Was the second one.
Yeah, that was when the movies didn't feel like completely off. They really went off the ball with the third movie, man. They went crazy.
I I'm gonna look real quick at something because I don't know how good Tomb Raider. Nope.
What, the most recent Tomb Raider movie?
Yeah, because that's on this list. But I thought I remember seeing some. Oh, maybe not. Maybe
I
not.
definitely don't remember that movie being widely talked about in a positive light. Maybe it was. Honestly, I don't know.
Well, it's at a 48 on Metacritic based on 53 reviews.
Here's the thing. Tomb Raider and Uncharted are the two gaming
6.4
series that make
user.
the most sense to be able to be adapted into movies, and yet Uncharted is in production hell and never
I'm still mad Halo
or
has
script.
it
It's
been,
not even production. I mean, it's in. They haven't even moved past the script on any of the Uncharted things.
which is ridiculous because Uncharted, like we saw Nathan Fillion as Nathan Drake, perfect.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, so you bring up Halo. That's a really bad example. That doesn't make as much sense as a movie, honestly, as what Uncharted is. Uncharted is essentially playing a movie. Realistically, if you just cut down on the amount of fights,
Right. Well, that's the point of a movie, though.
Yes, exactly.
Is to make something cinematic that is not cinematic.
well,
Or even
not
even
not
that, but to
necessarily.
expand on it.
Not necessarily.
From a video game, since it is, though.
But when you think about how Uncharted came about, Uncharted was obviously inspired by the idea of cinema. They wanted to bring in, at a time when games weren't really doing this to a big extent, they wanted to bring in motion capture. They wanted to do motion and voice capture at the same time. They wanted to make sure that they set up camera scenes to look very cinematic. Basically, Uncharted was trying to make games as much like movies as they could while still keeping a game element to it. And that's obviously been throughout the entire thing. They have big set pieces. They treat the game design like you would do a movie. And so you think about it, obviously one of its biggest influences in the game world was Tomb Raider. But when it came to the way that they wanted to present their world, their biggest influence was Indiana Jones. And Indiana Jones and Uncharted, when you actually look at what they do, and if you cut down... because obviously they have to give enough gunplay and gameplay to make it feel like a game. But if you cut down on those and just make it like, okay, the puzzle solving is a little less often, the gunfights happen, but with less people, or at least a little less often, it's like you basically just watched a movie.
Stop having enemies spawn into a tomb that you go into that you unlock the only door into.
Yeah.
But no, like Halo.
But,
what I mean by
that's
that
decidedly
is that,
movie anyway, man. Indiana Jones always has people showing up in places where we're like, how the hell did you get in here?
Well, what I mean by Halo is that, like, in my opinion, the sci-fi aspect of it is what could push it over the edge. It could become Star Wars. It could become something like that.
And I get that
on the big screen.
But it's the same problem with Doom, where it really is made and
No,
handled
no,
in
it
the
is not.
idea of being a shooter, and that is what it's
There's
about.
still a really good story behind Halo that has like 10 best-selling books inside the series. There's still.
I get what you're saying.
I mean, you don't agree to it.
I mean,
but you can't say it's not there.
I think that Halo makes more sense as a series, which they've already kind of shown off with the Nightfall and stuff that they were doing. I don't think that it makes a good movie. Then again, I don't think much. Halo, Nightfall, and
it's not Nightfall. It's Destiny.
No, I'm talking about it may not be called Nightfall. It's something very close to that. There was 2 different Halo series they did.
Is it called Nightfall?
Boy,
dang,
suck a dick.
Boy, they still pulling.
Sorry, I know we are normally PG.
They're still pulling stuff from Bungie.
But I just needed Saul to know that he was wrong, and this came out.
Oh dang! I should have said Halo 5 is a sequel I really want.
This came out the same year as Bungie. I mean, it's Destiny, didn't it? 14.
I think so. Yeah.
So they didn't.
I should have said Halo 5 is a sequel I really want.
Yeah.
That we'll never get. Because Halo 5 doesn't exist in my world.
Okay. Anyway, my point being is that I think that even then the show is still not that great.
Because it's a low budget show. We're talking about things that we want to see made into high budget movies.
Honestly, we just had Uncharted done as a low budget YouTube series, and I would much prefer to see it move forward like that.
I would not. I would much rather see a 2.5 hour movie of Uncharted.
It's not, the reason I say that is it's not going to happen. They are never going to be able to get to a point.
Live action Halo movie.
Of course. Well, actually, it was going to forever, but they had the same problem where they couldn't
Peter
get it going
Jackson as the director and all kinds of stuff, and that's what District 9 was apparently.
You got to put names around it. You've got to get people who are big in the industry. You got to find actors that people.
No,
love.
I understand why it works. That's why I said it's never going to happen.
That's why you don't have to worry about it. That's why I think that the YouTube series was able to capture the magic of Uncharted so much, because of the fact that they did not have to worry about all these things that normal movies have to sit there and worry about. They truly were just like, I love Uncharted. If I was going to make an Uncharted script and I was going to make it into a series, what would I want to see it be? And then that was all they had to do. They didn't have to worry about anything else. They didn't have to worry about funding from somebody and whether the person who's funding it likes the direction you were going with it. Instead, all they had to go was, this is what I want to make. And that's why I love YouTube so much. When you don't have to worry about funding and you can see people make something like this, it was obviously just a passion project. I don't even know if any of them got paid. If they did, they got paid very
probably,
minimal.
If anything, put money into it.
Yeah,
but still, I don't like series. I don't.
And
think
you could obviously tell by that Nathan Fillion was excited to be Nathan Drake.
Well, he's been wanting to be Nathan Drake for quite a long time now.
Yeah, so that's my point.
A good couple years.
I would not be surprised if he did it for free, even though he obviously didn't have to do anything for free, but I wouldn't be surprised. So that's what I mean is that I think when you go towards movies, you say you don't like the idea of series. I mean, do you think?
Well, but then you're not talking about a movie.
Well, I get what you're saying, but I'm saying instead of trying to go this movie direction that they keep going towards that we know doesn't work, trying to at least go down to a series makes more sense in giving you the time needed.
The reason I have the problem with the series is that the budget of a series compared to the budget of a movie is done so differently. Unless it's a high budget series like Game of Thrones, which still has bad CGI in parts, you're going to look bad and crappy like every single superhero TV series there is that has special effects.
Sure.
Every one of them, Green Arrow, The Flash, Smallville, Gotham, they all have these cheesy effects. Ruins it. 100% takes you out of the show, or me out of the show.
I can agree with that.
It is cheesy looking, and they typically just are not good. And Gotham is a good example of that. I didn't enjoy any of those except Gotham and Smallville.
Yeah, and that's still a little differently, and that is a series, and I get what you're saying on that. I brought up the Uncharted specifically the fact that it's a YouTube series. There's no.
Well, I mean, Daredevil's a Netflix series.
Control is pulled away from that. What I mean is that, but it's not funded by somebody. It's not controlled by anybody. Even
it's
Sony.
funded by somebody.
Even Sony.
Somebody's behind it all.
Sure, but my point being is that whoever it wasn't someone who has interest in the IP, and that's why I'm saying the only reason I think Uncharted as that even worked, even if it would have been a 2.5 hour movie, which would have been crazy. But let's just say it was.
Well, and the other problem is that no matter what, they're going to be violating copyright laws unless they
exactly.
get
But we're talking about a whole
Sony.
different, and that's what I'm saying is that the fact that because they didn't violate copyright laws and that because they didn't charge for it or anything, right?
Well, no, they didn't. I don't recall them ever saying like likeliness is the only thing they would go off of. They never said names, did they?
Oh yeah, they said Sully and Elena and Nathan.
I don't remember them saying that, but I have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, no, they totally did.
I assume they just did all that to get away with maybe likeness as the only possible.
No,
problem.
because it's not.
I don't understand how it's still on YouTube.
They're not selling it. If they don't monetize it, it doesn't matter. It's a fan product. It's a fan made product at that point.
I guess you're right. Yeah.
And it's not. And because they don't have anything, the only argument would be that if they had an Uncharted series that someone else would be going towards it, like fan made games go that route, is because you might be keeping people from buying the game. Yeah. In this case. I
guarantee you they announce an Uncharted movie, that stuff's taken off YouTube instantly, though.
Maybe. But what I was getting at is the only reason that even worked is because there was nobody who had interest in the IP trying to control what was going on, or nobody who had interest in the funding behind it trying to control what was going on so that they can try and make it the best that they think it is. I do think sometimes movies get ruined by trying to attach the A-list actor, and that's partially just a problem with movie culture in general, where for some reason to make a video game movie work, they always trying to attach some big name to it, and that's always like
and it's always a really bad big name.
Because what happened in
like
Doom?
Rock and Doom. Yeah. I was gonna say, first of all, you don't know what the Doom guy looks like from like a facial level, except the little 8-bit sprites that are in the center of the game back then.
Yeah,
doesn't look nothing like The Rock.
I don't think likeness matters as much as tone.
Well, I'll say then again, Doom guy was not rocking that movie. It was Carl Urban. I keep forgetting Carl Urban was in that movie.
Yeah,
but you have. What else is there? You have Mila Djokovic in Resident Evil. That's a completely made-up character in the Resident Evil series. But you still have people like Claire and Wesker and Chris all in those movies. So you could go a route like that. You have Prince of Persia was weird because it is the same character technically, but you never know his name until the movie. But then that's not his canon name for the games, right?
I don't even know if he has a canon name in the games.
I don't think he has a name, like at all.
I think he's the Prince.
Yeah.
Just like he was in the 2008 version.
You know what I mean? Like
they just call him the Prince, yeah. But that's it's funny. I continuously have to try and go back to that Uncharted one in the sense that I had somewhere I was going with this, and I've completely lost it by thinking about something you said.
That sometimes they make sense when it's not.
No. Regardless of, here's the thing: in the Uncharted one, even the characters that didn't look like the characters, don't get me wrong, it was a little weird, but they basically were able to somewhat nail the general idea behind what those characters are supposed to stand for. Doesn't matter what they look; it's about the tone. I think that even if it wouldn't have been Nathan Fillion playing Nathan Drake in that. My biggest complaint for the longest time about Uncharted being a movie is that early on they kept trying to, and this is again because of Hollywood, they kept trying to do this thing.
Tom Cruise.
Where they wanted it to be, Mark Wahlberg. And that was what they were trying to tie it to. And I was like, Mark Wahlberg cannot pull off the attitude needed to stick with the tone of who Nate is supposed to be as a character. He's supposed to be lighthearted and funny, but then endearing when it matters.
Oh, what did he say in The Happening?
And that's just not... Don't even bring The Happening into this. It's weird how much this is about movies more than anything. But of course, it's about why I think games and movies are inherently different, is that everybody always tends to ruin... Books set up tone in a different way, right? We talked about this. Books set up tone underneath the idea that you're imagining it.
No.
Yeah. But think about it this way. You like books, right?
Yes.
And what is the biggest thing that people tend to complain about when they move a book series to a movie is not normally about tone, even though books can convey some tone.
It's
a lot of it's
character
done in your head.
adaptations.
A lot of it's about the character adaptations, and more often than not, things that they changed that are just events that happen because they feel like it's important that they happen the way they did in the book.
I'm really disappointed that Super Mario is not on any of these lists that I've seen so far.
I'm surprised that it's not on any of those lists.
I was guaranteed it was going to be first on this one, but apparently it's Postal. I never knew they made a movie about Postal.
Me either. But more importantly, Saul, would you say, like, from a book to a movie tends to be that things get lost in translation in terms of what happens, and it's a problem because people are trying to take the book story and condense it for movie. A lot of the times when we're going into movies that come from games, the stories are wholly original and they don't base off of what the game is, and instead what they're trying to do is capture what people like about the games in the movie.
Yeah.
So that's why I think book adaptations are handled differently, and people handle them differently in their own mind, because it's about the way you imagine it, which is a little different than what happens when you're thinking about a video game when it's about what you see.
Right.
Most people, you can still try and interpret Uncharted differently, but when you look at Uncharted and you look at it, you have a visual identity that goes along with Uncharted. You kind of know what you're expecting on the camera sweeps and style. They always go for like utilizing color. Like I said, it also helps that they base their game off of cinema. But you also know that the tone they're trying to go to from a feel, where it's always about being lighthearted, but also based in some sense of emotional weight. So it's like the games are always meant to be funny and lighthearted, just like Indiana Jones are. But there's always supposed to be key moments that are really truthfully weightful,
right?
Where these decisions ultimately matter, and it's about letting the character play out through his normal things, but then you get to see him in this new light because of this. But that tone is already set. The tone of the characters is already set. The point of the characters is set, and the way that they are, again, the Uncharted YouTube thing was so good because even though Sully didn't look a thing like Sully, he utilized what that character is supposed to be about.
He had the same mannerisms, and the voice was pretty decent. The cigar, having the cigar, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's more about what they played and what their purpose in the story was, and the tone that the game set them, audio and visually. Since books don't give that, it's a little differently. You can still say
for sure
that they bastardized the character by changing who the character is, but in this case, it's not even about what happens in the story to the character or any of that, because this is a whole new story. Instead, it's just using the games as inspiration so that they capture that magic, and that's why I think it's really hard. Can you really, and I think Monster Hunter probably has the most chance of success because there's not truly a narrative to Monster Hunter games.
No, it's pretty much just hunt this big thing down. But then again, there have been other movies like that before.
Was Rampage on that list? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Rampage wasn't on the list, no.
Okay.
What was it? There was another, or I guess it is Doom that I'm thinking of. That back then there wasn't a real story in Doom. It was pretty simplistic.
Well, Doom 3 had a story.
No, Doom. I'm talking about Doom 1.
Okay.
I'm talking about the movie it was based off of, pretty much. Because in the Doom movie, there's like two demons. There's the wheelchair demon guy, and then there's the Rock at the end. When in reality, that's all you fight in the first game. That's all you fight in 2. That's all you fight in 3, really. Like, there may be zombies in 3, too, isn't there?
Well, 3's got a lot more stuff going on, but 3 actually is attempting to tell a story. So, I mean, I guess as I say, as a series, Doom as a movie is based off of the Doom series. It wasn't Doom for Doom. Like, they weren't trying to copy Doom 1. If anything...
Were they? Because they had the same font and everything that Doom 1, or I guess the Doom font.
Doom font. But even
then...
It
didn't have a whole lot of anything except the Mars thing.
If you look at what's going on... Realistically, Doom the movie is closer to Doom 3 in terms of what it's trying to utilize as a stepping stone, in my opinion.
No, there's way too many more demons in Doom 3 than there is in Doom.
As a movie,
that's what I'm talking about.
Sure, but I'm not. But it's also a game. There has to be more demons for it to be fun for you to play. It's not.
I mean, yeah, but then how far can you go?
The setup about why the demons
before it's not the same anymore.
That's why I say the games are different because they let you utilize it not as it's inspiration.
Yeah, but
you're utilizing and you're trying to capture the tone and the feel of what Doom gives you, not exactly what's happening in Doom. That's why I think game adaptations can be better done, but people get lost in all these other things and they lose the tone of the game and what the game really represents.
I mean, if they've been an Uncharted movie and they had zombies in it, but the tone was the same, you'd still have an issue with there being zombies in it.
I mean, because zombies move away. Well, it depends on how you utilize them. Because technically, Uncharted 1 has.
No, I was going to say, no, don't spoil it.
Things. But my point being is that they've always done some. Uncharted is known for having supernatural elements to it that always come at some point in the game. That's just a thing. Now, if the entire movie was just supposed to be,
well, that's the problem with Doom is that it's supposed to be about the story of the first Doom where he's going around killing aliens and stuff, or even Doom 3 where you're going around killing demons and stuff. I said aliens, I meant demons. But demons, yeah, demons. But you get zombies, and you get these. They're all human zombies too. It'd be like that in Uncharted. Let's say that he's going around, and instead of bad guys, instead of the terrorists, instead of anybody else, it's zombies.
For the whole movie, it would be weird because it would move too far away from the tone.
Well, no, but you say that Doom's tone could stay the same and it still be a decent movie if there was a lack of the demons.
No, that's not what I was trying to say. I'm sorry,
okay.
I didn't know that it came off that way.
Yeah, it came out that way to me because you were saying that if they go that far off, because I said, what about change and how far do you have to change it? And you said, well, if the tone is the same.
Well, it's more than that. I mean, it's the tone and in a game like Doom though, and Doom is another example of a game that probably would have been able to pull it off as well as anybody else because there traditionally wasn't a lot of story value.
Well, see, they could just
Hitman
make it
had its own
highly action.
Hitman had its own things going on for it, but what do they do with the Hitman movies? They always try to give you a reason as to why it was a Hitman.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
They're trying to touch on the wrong things.
Have them do some cool stuff like John Wick and again,
with
style.
The tone, right? So if you make a Hitman movie, and they did twice,
and they're both really
bad.
And
they're both bad.
Even though the leading actor,
the second one's better than the first.
I'm trying to think of the leading actor was the same guy that was in The Office for a couple episodes.
Yes,
and I can't think of his name. He
I
was
can't remember his name.
The main character in The Crazies, which was a really good zombie movie.
I actually don't mind him. My point being,
he's a good actor. That's what I was saying is that's how you could tell a bad script and
sure,
and everything else.
But also he wasn't interested in doing it. He was just doing it for money. What is his name? That was actually a big thing that somebody talked about. It doesn't matter. My point being is that where something like Doom could have succeeded is that all you have for Doom is the feeling you get from playing Doom. Because it's not such a story-heavy thing, Hitman as well. They could have just made a high-action movie for Hitman, but instead they tried delving into these weird story things. Well, why is he a Hitman? Why did it come down to? It's like, well, you don't need that. Good. You can make a narrative that's fun, that is based around what you see in the games. Again, inspiration. It doesn't have to be the exact story, but the game's never worried about that. It wasn't about why he was a hitman. It was about who he was, what he was
the crazy
going
thing
and attacking.
They could have done something similar with Resident Evil. They could have made the very first Resident Evil movie take place in a mansion, have the original Stars crew there. Was it Stars or was it...
See, but then you're copying exact things, and I don't want to see movies that are trying to retell a story from a game. Personally,
I don't see, but that's the thing is that if I go see a movie, I don't want the movie to be drastically different than the source material. Because at that point you lose me. You like.
Well, I do because I mean like if they ever make an Uncharted movie, right? The Uncharted series on YouTube, that one little mini thing that they did was going into it never happened in the game. It was going completely in a new area. That's what I would want. I don't want to re-experience.
I don't want to retell the exact same story, but I still want there to be subject matter that makes sense. Like especially depending on how you do it, because if you have a game,
what's the story trying to convey?
Well, I was gonna say,
that's what I say.
And the conclusion.
So
of what it's supposed
it doesn't
to be.
need to happen in a mansion. But it can happen.
Just saying it would be a better movie compared to what that we got.
Well, maybe, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it still would have been bad because it would have been one of those things where because it was so much like the first game, anything that it did change would get lambasted for being changed. And that's a problem that books face now.
I mean, you got the whole movie being changed, and that got problems enough. That's why.
But when you could just say
negativity towards it.
Sure, but that's why I still say when you go, well, this is based off, and we're trying to capture the tone. It wasn't. It wasn't even trying to do the same basic thing that the Resident Evil was trying to do. If they would have made a smaller, more intimate movie that wasn't worried, it didn't have to be taking place in a mansion.
Then why use Resident Evil's name?
I could agree with that too. To
yeah,
be honest.
like that's the thing, and like it's the same thing.
I mean. If we're gonna argue, should they even be made? No, I don't think so. No. I think that you should leave things alone in their own thing. I mean, but at
Unless
the argument,
something that's done
at the argument, Spider-Man shouldn't have had a game because Spider-Man started as a comic. I mean, it gets to be weird. There's you can have some crossover into other mediums, but eventually they stop making sense.
Well, no, because Spider-Man from the comics to what we play is still pretty true to its nature. That's the problem, is that sometimes these movies go too far, and it becomes a thing of which, why, like Assassin's Creed. I heard that Assassin's Creed was actually pretty good to the source material. I'm not going to say as a movie,
maybe.
But to the source material. But then you have stuff like Advent Children, great movie, really good movie. That movie,
story-wise,
nowhere near
sense.
canon. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think it does fit in canon. I don't think it is canon at all. I
don't know, honestly.
But I enjoyed Kadaj and his other two friends. I can't remember the name of.
Me either.
Weird names. But it had Kadaj in it, and then they all became Sephiroth, and then there you go. And then you have Cloud versus Sephiroth. And that was
Spoilers.
amazing fight. Listen, we know what happens in Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. But yeah, it's been one of those things that it's kind of fun to talk about, because should they exist? Maybe. Do they all exist for good reasons? Absolutely not. What you guys let us know in the comments. What are some of y'all's least favorite video game movies? But then name us the favorites. Like, name us the ones that you like. Like, is there
a video game movie that we have not talked about that has actually been done and is good? Honestly, besides Silent Hill,
I was gonna say I liked Silent Hill and I liked Adventure.
And again, Silent Hill wasn't an exact match to anything. It fit the tone of what the games were aiming for. Yeah. What is the story trying to tell?
It fit everything.
What type
into
of story
it that made sense? But that's why a lot of people hate it. I liked it because it was actually an entertaining horror movie.
Yeah,
and the soundtrack of all of
yeah, sure. I mean,
amazing.
Obviously, of course, the other side is an entertaining movie in its own right. I would even go as far as to say a lot of video games movies aren't even entertaining as movies because they're trying too hard to fit in these weird realms in between.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, games can. I just think it's so weird that probably of them all, if I had to really say them, the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider movies were not awful. They're not good.
They were bad.
But they were what they did is that they were just action movies. They did try to give you a little bit of the backstory, which the games did too, about who Laura was prior and why, and they even try to do that now.
Yeah, I'll say they did that in a new movie, from what I've heard.
Yeah,
because I heard the actress who played her is incredibly talented.
I mean,
so like
I'm
maybe,
sure.
Yeah, like good for her and stuff. I just don't know how the movie did.
Yeah, I don't know.
Until I looked at those Metacritic.
Let us know if we're completely wrong. If you love video game movies and you think that they're great and they should exist and that they've all been done well, please tell me. I mean, maybe I'm seeing this in a weird light, and I think it ends up being the same thing. Is that I love video games more than I like books. To be honest, I'm more of a game player than I'm a book reader. So I don't get as mad whenever books going into movies change, because I'm not that into reading.
Maybe I'll say it's because it's probably you've never become that attached to a series to see it be done disrespectfully.
Yeah, even though the series book wise that I had the most was a series of unfortunate events, which the movie was kind of bad, but the Netflix series has been okay, and which
is the unpopular opinion of that too. And not a lot of people like it at all.
I like it all right. But that's what I mean, is it's just whatever at this point.
You guys let us know where y'all fit in. Do you guys like anything adapted from games into movies? If so, let us know what they are. Which ones do you hate? I think I'm going to let Brett take it off to our good old Patreons real quick.
Yep, but until next week, this has been Triangle Square, so thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks to our patrons, Chad V, Dan Barber, Josh Jarrell, Mikey 12, my name is Dan, Douglas Below, Shadowist, Steven Salazar, The Stonerd, Travis Below, Blake Popst, and Eduardo Palomino. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, the link is in the description below. Thank you.